welcome in. I'm Robbie, and welcome to In the Bag. I went with another podcast intro there.
I know. I was just like, wait, what's happening right now?
Welcome to In the Bag. How you doing today, Brad?
I'm doing well. I just forgot where we were at the moment, but now I'm back. We're on In the Bag, but I don't know, feeling good. It's been this week has been the shortest week, but also the longest week. And I can't quite figure out why it feels that way. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, we're kind of, once we hit USDGC, it is a full-on sprint until the middle of January for us. So I kind of just feel that creeping in. So maybe that's kind of what it is. It feels like maybe the calm before the storm. That's why it feels like a little slower, possibly.
Yeah. I definitely, it's one of those, anytime that it is a short, when you have a day off in the week, I think that like so many people's jobs, things are routine for it, right? Like, on Monday I come in and I handle, I'm sure for y'all, like we have the orders that have come in for the weekend. So we have to pick those up and get that done because we have 2 days that people have been ordering, hopefully off of foundationdisc.com, and you got to get those orders out. But if you have 3 days now where that's happened and we're running sales, like it's, sick. That throws it off. Yeah, that is definitely, like, I normally get all my stuff, my videos live a day in advance. But then I was like, oh, snap. I normally do that on Monday afternoon. But Monday afternoon, we were hanging out. Oh,
right.
Snap. So, wild times. Wild times. Speaking of wild times, had a funny moment that I have to share with the community because this week I shot 2 videos over the weekend. And as I was shooting these videos, I was shooting one of them and I pull my camera up and it is like, I can see on the little screen that this bar is like moving on the bottom. Like some setting is changing. I was like, I don't know what this is. So I'm seeing it move and can't figure out what's happening. So then I go and I check am I still shooting at 60 frames a second? Okay, yes, check. Am I still shooting in 1080? Okay, check. I think I've got everything settled. So I shoot the rest of this putting video. I then go out on Monday and I shoot my Procyon review for Trash Panda.
Shout out.
Another fun game that Jesse and I have been doing is he sends me 2 discs. He sends people 2 discs always, because when you're reviewing discs, it's always nice to have 2, just in case you throw a bad one. But we've started a game with the ET2 and beyond, where when I film a review of the disc at a course, I just leave one of my discs at the course. Because usually I'm shooting these before the actual release, all of that.
Right.
So I shoot this whole video, leave one of the discs at the course, throw all the trash away around the box, everything. So I just have one singular Procyon, and then I send Trevor the footage for him to edit. He calls me yesterday and he goes, Robbie, this is not going to work. And I was like, what do you mean? What's not going to work? And he's like, dude, this footage is in like stop motion.
Oh no.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so Connor takes a look at it. I end up on FaceTime with Connor, him pointed at my camera, trying to show me. I felt like your grandpa having to be told. And he looks, and my shutter speed on my camera, instead of being at 125, had dropped all the way to 20.
Oh no.
So it was just like,
Oh, what in the world?
So I shot this whole Procyon review.
So you were a claymation.
I was, So I shot my whole Procyon review. Can't use any of it. So now I got to go shoot it again, but I don't have the packaging and I don't have the extra Procyon. So thankfully my friend Ryan really coming in clutch and getting me he has one as well. He's on their Patreon crew. And so I'm using that. But the one that I left, someone found and posted in our local Facebook group, and was like, hey, someone left an unmarked Trash Panda Procyon here, and someone else commented and was like, I didn't even know those were available yet. So I commented back and was like, well, they aren't available yet, and that's all yours. Congratulations.
Yeah, you've won the treasure hunt that you did not know you were part of.
So wild times. That was the funny of this week for me was, Sick. Make sure you check that shutter speed. So the whole video that I filmed on Tuesday, or the whole video I filmed yesterday, I was like, man, I'm checking that shutter speed every single time. Like, okay, it's still at 125. Check. Okay, cool.
That is funny, man. Well, let's get into some questions this week.
Let's do it.
I looked over again. I try not to read these. I looked over. I see some pretty fun ones. A little smorgasbord, if you will. A little bit of everything. It looks like today.
Yeah, I've started. I've started where I will how I'm choosing the questions. A little peek behind the curtain, everyone, because we had like 80 questions available. We've got 10 of them pulled here. But of those 80 questions, I like pick a category. I randomly scroll to one of those questions, and then I pull that one up. See if it's a great question. I throw it on, and then I just move left or right based off of where that started me. And then I
like
just sort from there. So instead of like before, I was going like bag building, form, going through our categories. Now I'm just kind of riding. And it's creating some fun moments. So Robert Eichler starts us with, what is lag in a disc golf throw? I hear the term, but don't fully understand what is meant. And if it's a good, bad, a thing you can have too much or too little of in a throw.
So can I say what I think it is? Because I'm not sure like I would describe it accurately either. So me and Robert and I are kind of in the same scenario here. So lag, is that meaning like, in my mind, you're just like not firing correctly, right? So like the lag of like your disc before you pull through, so you're like engaging your hips, and then your like, I guess your shoulder. Yeah, your shoulder should be hitting, then your elbow, and then your disc, right? So is that what we're describing as lag, or can you fill me in here?
Yeah. So I think the term.
Well, hold on, is lag a good thing or a bad thing, Robbie?
So I think what I believe lag is intended to be is a good thing.
Okay.
What people use the term lag for, I would sort of substitute for tension in the body.
Okay.
Because when you think about lag, so the most common thing for lag that people talk about is when the hand lags behind. So like you talked about, your hips are firing, shoulders are firing, and your arm is sort of dragging behind you. This creates this tension so that when everything opens up, that lag is eventually going to catch up, and it's like adding an extra gear to the throw. That's what people believe. The most common example of this is Paul Macbeth. So when Paul throws, he has that moment where everything is fired and his arm is in this lagged position. And because Paul is the GOAT, people try to copy it and lean in to say, oh, I want to throw like Paul. So while I think tension in the body is a good thing, while I think you can have it in your throw, the issue, and what I end up telling people so often in their throws, is when you try to focus on creating lag, it puts you in a compromised position, usually for your shoulder and elbow, because you're in a weak position with it back there. There are very few individuals in the world, a la Paul Macbeth, who can get from the weak position and find that extra gear to then get into the correct position while they are traveling forward. So most people, when they create that lag, they're going to whip their body around, but that joint of the shoulder and elbow is going to collapse, so they're not going to get the same pop out of it.
Right.
There's no problem with rotating through. So all that to say, creating tension in the body, which is what people think of with lag, is fine. We do that via coiling. That is great. You can have as much as you want of it. Sheer lag can be phenomenal, but know that 99% of the disc golf population who tries to create lag in their throw is actually inhibiting their throw.
Okay.
So I think it's
That makes
a
sense.
great topic. It's a great point. I'll shout out the boys over at Overthrow have a really good video talking about like when do they start the arm that I think highlights this really well. And they talk about like the example they use to generate lag, and this will probably be a good visual for you, Brad. I know you're with me in the visual gang. So imagine that you're standing behind me, and I go to like we lock hands like what's up, bro?
Yeah.
So then I want to pull you through from that position. If I rotate my hips and fire the arm, or like if I rotate my hips forward and try to spin, but I don't fire the arm yet, you kind of can see and imagine what position that puts my arm in.
Yeah.
That is lag. That's the position that people are trying to create with lag, is getting the arm trapped behind so that when I whip through, it goes and takes off.
Yeah, I think of like a trebuchet, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm thinking of in my head, and I think I've like tried to intentionally do that, and I haven't thought I need to add lag to my throw, but I think recently I'm trying to figure out like, okay, I need to try to get everything firing before this disc, like you pointed out to me a while back. Looking at again my son Eli, who has a great form, versus me, like he's firing everything and then his head comes through and then the disc basically, and like so I've been trying to create that lag, I guess, and I didn't think of it as lag, but I think it kills my timing a lot, because I think like you said, I'm putting myself in a weak position because I'm not like taking the steps prior to that correctly.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, shout out to those of you who want to see the form review. Robbie and I were talking about it before it. I'm happy to do it. So please let us know in the comments if you do want to see that. Maybe that will be episode 63 or 64, 163 or 164.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can like accurately talk about those things or lack of those things too, Robbie.
Yeah.
I don't mind being the guinea pig for that.
Totally. So Elvin is up next, and I thought I pulled this question because I was like, I feel like this is something that Brad is probably a master of, in terms of he's got kids.
I love games.
So you can't, it's very tough to just take your kid out and be like, all right, we're working on drives today. Not going to happen. So you got to trick them. Elvin asks, how do you make short game practice fun? I enjoy putting and distance practice, but short game practice feels so monotonous to me, which is fascinating because I think most people really dislike putting practice.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's why I think I'm going to guess why you like those two things. I have a tennis ball in my hand. I'm not sure why. Sorry. I think that the reason you like distance is because there's like a measurable win or lose. And then putting, there's also a measurable like win or lose. Like, oh, I made 20 of those putts, I can change my position. I made 20 of those putts. Distance, you're like, okay, let's see how far I can throw this. Let's see how far. Those are very engaging things. Short game, you're not. I mean, you want to get close, right? But it's not as like scoreable, I guess, if you will. So, me and my family actually we call it run it. I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, but it's basically short game practice because we're not putting and we're not throwing distance shots, but it's usually like 100 to 150 feet, maybe some obstacles, maybe some weird angles on the knee, whatever. But basically how we play is we try to, if you make it in the basket, it's 10 points. If you hit chains, it's 5 points. If you hit metal, it's 1 point. So like we just do points that way. Again, we usually, I think we do 3 or 5 discs depending on what kind of mood we're in. And then like everybody chooses a station. If you're doing it yourself, I think you just choose 5 stations. Maybe you do like a one from a knee, one has to be like a forehand, one has to be a backhand, and you move all around the basket trying to do that. That's what we do. It's a lot of fun. You forget you're kind of practicing too, and you're really working on your accuracy, like that 150 foot in accuracy, which I think is a really good thing to do.
Yeah, I think you nailed that. Like, if there is a short game has so little immediate, like, whoa, we did it impact.
Yeah.
I banged these huge putts and I saw 17 putts in a row go in, or, oh, I just made a new PR because I threw it so far. Yeah, when you're like, oh, my short game practice, sick. I just parked 17 in a row within 6 feet of the basket. Okay. They're all just laying on the ground next to the basket.
Yeah, you're like, cool, But yeah, and I don't know where you're practicing, but like in our yard, we're like, okay, well, this one's blind, and this one you got to throw scuba, and this one you got to throw a flex forehand, and this one you have to throw like I said, from a knee. Like, I think there's a whole lot you can do, and again, giving it a scoreable amount or a way to hit score, and like I think the score also, and distance is a score, putting is a score, right? Giving it a score also allows you like metrics to like improve on. So if you like want to keep practicing, you're like, okay, well, I got 100 points today, maybe I'm going to try to get 115 by the end of the week or whatever. So I think that also gives you ways to improve and continue to grow as well.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you, one of the guys that I think has really mastered this concept is Michael Strauss, coach that I worked with. Mike has several games that he's made at his local courses, like a hole one drill where he is trying to throw. He just has he has markers at hole one, so he plays hole one for his warm up hole over and over again. Or he's got another one where there are these two trees that are like 200 feet away from the basket, but they make him have to throw a like tight standstill. Yeah. And so he stands between those two trees and he throws down towards this other basket. So that would be, from learning from the expert there, how I would make short game practice fun is find a park that maybe has like an area that doesn't have a ton of walking paths going through it, and go back to the roots of disc golf and object golf and make a little short object golf course where you're like, all right, this hole is 150 feet, but there are silly mandos all over the course. And those mandos don't have to be just right of this tree. Those mandos can be like, I have to throw mando forehand and Hyzer. Yeah. Like I have to throw a 150-foot forehand and Hyzer. So you learn that shot. And yeah, you're just making like a little mini course out of it, because sometimes people's local courses don't have the flexibility to practice your short game because they're either just like medium length courses, so you'd have to have a terrible drive to really have anything but a jump putt left, or they're crazy far, so you're like, all right, sick, I just threw my max distance twice in a row and I'm still going to maybe par. So next up, Omar from Raleigh said, can you give us a detailed breakdown of the thought process involved with selecting disc/angles when faced with slopes that will drastically affect throws? Not just uphill, downhill, but also along the sides of the fairway. For example, a steep drop off to the right of a fairway that you must cross to reach the pin. Liked how you broke down how to navigate wind. Something with similar to elevation would be dope. Thanks for everything you do for the community. You've helped my game. Okay. So selecting disc angles based on slopes. What you got, Brad?
Can I say one thing? And this is kind of the thing with the wind as well. Don't make it more complicated than it is. At the end of the day, it's not that complicated. Yeah. Like the headwind, tailwind. Like if I'm throwing into a headwind, I want to fight it. Over stable discs, fight things. So like that's just that's my mantra. And then it's the opposite, right? So for uphill, downhill, I'm just like, okay, uphill gravity is against me, right? So it's going to make things more overstable, correct?
Yep.
Or am I? Yep. Okay. So I'm like, I just need to throw more understable stuff uphill because I need more power. And like it also like throwing uphill means, if I have 300 feet into the green and it's uphill, I really got to throw, depending on the angle, probably like 350 or 400 foot of power. So also like don't underestimate your distance as well. Like, I know I can throw a 300-foot shot, but I can't throw a 300-foot uphill shot and park the basket, probably, right? Yeah. So mine uphill, you got to fight the uphill, so it's going to make your distance more overstable. So I'm throwing more understable uphill. Downhill, and am I correct by saying it's usually going to make things a little flippier, or it's going to be, you don't need to throw as overstable stuff downhill, because you're basically increasing your arm and your distance. That's how I think about it. Yeah. Maybe that's the wrong way of thinking that.
The phrase that I use that I think has really helped me understand it, and I don't even know if I'm like the one that originated this. It's just been such a part of my mantra at this point that overstable discs want to get to the ground faster.
Yes.
And I don't say that understable discs do not want to get to the ground. I just say that overstable discs want to get to the ground faster. So why I throw understable going uphill is because the overstable disc wants to get to the ground faster, and the ground is getting to the disc faster because I'm going uphill, which is why it's not a good combo. And then if we take that same thought process and we know that overstable discs want to get to the ground faster, well, the ground is running away from me when I'm throwing downhill. So you could say, oh, I want free distance as well, so I'm going to go understable. The problem is because the ground is running away from you as you're going downhill, you're giving more time for Calamity to strike. So I don't think that it's as easy as uphill, I want to go super understable, downhill, I want to go super overstable. I would say neutral to overstable really works. Like I think of a hole that we have here in Alabama that's a par 4 at Kudzu Cove, and it is hundreds of feet of elevation change. Like it is a massive downhill hole, and the temptation is, oh, let me throw my flippiest disc possible. But it's wild because when you do that, it's crazy how like once it gets turning, it's so hard for the disc to fight back out of it, even though it has the air time to do so. Something changes, but if you can like flex a neutral disc, it flies like an understable disc, and then it catches overstability at the end because it gives time.
Yeah, taking wind out of the equation, it might just be a better piece of advice for both severe uphill and severe downhills is just throw more neutral.
Yeah.
Because for the average player, right? And then you have wind. Wind just completely changes all that. But I like what you said about the ground running away from you, because it makes sense if you throw a really understable disc downhill because you're like, oh, I'm going to get a bunch of distance. You are increasing the distance between your disc and the ground, which also we've all thrown a disc that's understable and then the wind catches the bottom end and it just never comes back.
Yep.
So you're increasing the probability of wind to get underneath of that disc.
For sure. So, and a little bit of wind. You also, if you're throwing downhill, usually those are far holes. Like it's pretty rare for you to have a big downhill hole that's like 150 feet, because at that point you're basically just putting downhill, leaning into that. So understand that when you get further away, the wind can feel different in the fairway versus where you're at right there. The other thing that I would say for like slopes or the other big tip I would give for elevation is match the slope that you're throwing on. So if I'm throwing downhill, don't throw out on that same hole 9 at Kudzu. My friends famously heard me because it's a massive hike up to that tee pad. Very similar, Brad. Have you gotten to play New London yet? New London?
Only the loop. I haven't gotten to play the full course yet.
Okay, so you've seen it though. The new
I've heard the
top of the
legend.
mountain shot. So like the temptation there is to just rip one flat out and see what happens. And when you do that, it's wild how much distance you lose, because once it reaches a certain point going flat out, it falls backwards. Like it's like, okay, cool, I got to get to the ground. So then it just starts crashing and going down. Whereas if you're throwing downhill and you match a little downhill, you actually get better distance potential. So we hike up to this like hole 9 shot at Kudzu, and I'm just screaming the whole time, throw down, throw down, throw down. And then my friends they're like, we're definitely throwing a couple. And the first one throws, and he's like, I didn't do it, I threw out. You just watch as it just sails straight for a couple seconds, and then it just hard crashes to the left. And we were like, oh, is that a super overstable disc? He's like, no, because he threw out. So the ground ran away from it, and then it just didn't do what the disc wanted to do. In terms of side hills and things like that, that's another one where you just want to try to match the slope. You either want to match the slope or you want to come up with something sharp to try to get it to stick. Like a fairway driver diving in and crashing in will be helpful to like anti-match, but know that creates rollaway potential. So you kind of want to settle on the side of the hill as best as you can, and just kind of leave it low. That's really all I can say about side hills. Those are very much case dependent.
Yeah, and the way I think about side hills, whether it's incorrect or if you ever seen a chart of like how gravity pushes down like on terrain, like different types of terrain, I'm always thinking of these big arrows pushing down on my discs when they're going into a side hill and you're out to the side, or you're throwing down like a slope. It's just like you can almost just see those arrows pushing down on that disc because it's wanting to correct to the terrain almost. So you have to really fight that with your disc, and don't be afraid. Like, slopes will make your discs do the more extreme version of what they're supposed to do. So I think just, again, neutral's always a really good friend, I think, in these scenarios. Especially if you're not really sure, neutral to slightly stable is probably a pretty good choice either way on any of these scenarios.
Yeah, and just leaning to when you think uphill, under, downhill, over,
Yep.
throwing neutral. And if you really want some help, just lean slightly on the side of one or the other.
Yep.
Like my Cicada is, I would not call a super flippy disc, but I've really been loving throwing my Cicada uphill because I would put it on the understable side of neutral, and it does work.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Okay. Roosevelt Hurt asked, I've recently committed to Robbie's idea of throwing 250 feet accurately and making all your putts at 20 feet will get you 900 rated golf. Started with my putting, so I can already throw the required distance, albeit not Pro Tour levels of accuracy. First off, quick pause there, Roosevelt. If you could throw Pro Tour levels of accuracy, I would imagine, the Pro Tour throws 250 feet of accuracy. Your 960 rated people still don't throw Pro Tour level of accuracy 250 feet in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's why it is a somewhat accurate 250 feet. That's all we're looking for. Mm-hmm. Right now, I have the classic Simon-like spin putt, lots of pronation in the forearm. But since I'm in the woods and often behind or next to trees when I putt, I rarely have a clean stance when putting. Should I switch from my spin putt to a more push putt like Calvin, or should I be more comfortable? So I'll be more comfortable straddling out. If so, what are some tips on switching from spin to push? Thanks. Love the show. You guys are doing great. So essentially, how I'm understanding this question, Brad, is he has a spin putt, but because he plays in the woods a lot, he doesn't feel like he gets the right stance on his spin putt most often. Mm-hmm. So should he switch to a push putt? Am I hearing that right? Does that seem right?
Yeah. I guess, number one, how are you doing on all those 20-foot putts? Like, unobstructed. Are you accurate? Are you, I think let's once remove from the question, how's it going not in the woods? Because I think my gut reaction, whether this is right or wrong, is if you're like able just to smash 9 out of 10 from 20 every single time with your spin putt, I would say don't change it. I say figure out a different way to straddle out and whatever, because you have the accuracy there. If you're already just kind of iffy on your spin putt anyway, I think it definitely makes it easier. You have a little bit more control, a little more options if you have more of a push putt in the woods if you're feeling obstructed. And then my third question or comment is maybe let's worry about the accuracy more than the putting, because are you getting into situations because you're not approaching accurately or driving accurately versus like, is the putting really the problem? I think we go to fixing the putting first a lot, me included, because you feel like you have more control over that and there's a lot more things to tweak. It's easier to practice and it's easier to just go throw 30 putts in 20-30 minutes and just be done with it, versus playing a whole round, practicing your accuracy. Going back to the question before, accuracy is not as much quote unquote fun as like putting practice. So I think there's maybe things to explore before you even get to like what type of putt am I doing. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. I really like the analysis you had there, Brad, of how are we doing unobstructed? Because if it's unobstructed, I had a putting lesson with one of my Birdie fan members on Monday. We did a putting lesson on Monday. So we didn't take the whole Labor Day off. That's fine.
Yeah, Labor Day.
But we had a putting lesson on Monday, He is a spin putter. We built him a really great spin putt, and he was like, Robbie, I am trash at straddle putts. And I was like, well, that just can't be true. And he was like, yeah, no, watch this. And so he straddle putted and went like 0 for 4, I think, 0 for 5, right off the rip from like 15 feet. I was like, oh, okay, let's fix this. This should be easy. So we just made 1 or 2 slight adjustments, basically trying to get his body out of the way because his hand knew how to spin putt. So I just had to try to help him orient his body in a way that his arm could do the same spin putt from a straddle. And once we figured that out, it was super easy. He went forward and started banging them. And then like literally sent me a video. I want to make sure that I get the distance right because he goes, oh, I think we fixed it. I did miss the last one, but 3 out of 4 at 43 feet isn't bad.
Okay.
So then he straddle putted.
Yeah.
Once we got him in the right position, he's straddling from 43 feet and spinning. So I think you can.
Interesting.
You say you have a Simon Lizotte spin, Roosevelt. Simon doesn't switch to a push when he's obstructed in the woods. Like he still spins. He has a dad putt that he'll rely on sometimes, but most of the time he is there. Eagle McMahon is a great example of someone who spin putts from a knee in a straddle.
Yep.
Still works. So I think it's
So
there.
much wrist.
It's just a matter of getting your body in the right position. So that comes from, think about your knees. That's the best tip that I'll give is think about how you orient your knees. Because if I drop my knees in the right position, like I'm twisting my knees, it actually gets my hips and my shoulders moving in the right spot, which opens up that swing path. Most of the time people miss is they're trying to like do this spin putt with the supination or the pronation, but it can't come to center chest because I can't rock back in a stagger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
little details there.
Yeah, and I think, and Roosevelt, you've obviously put in a lot of time, and I think I was actually practice putting yesterday, which I very rarely do anymore, but again, the little one's up running around, he's throwing discs in the basket now, so it's like fun again for him.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm trying, I've historically been very against a step putt, but I've now implemented a step putt because I just started making more, just a little step. It's a straddle step kind of thing. And so the thing I've been trying to do with take my own advice with my putting is like, I'm very like guilty of throwing 10 putts and be like, oh, this is wrong, let me fix it. But so what I force myself to do with this step putt is just like commit to it. Like I think I threw like maybe 30 putts with the same issue. And I was like, okay, this is an issue, so I do need to maybe tweak this. And all it was I was coming straight down, and when I was stepping, my body was kind of like pulling everything to the right. I just adjusted where my swing comes down to like the inside of my left leg, and I was hitting like 3-4 out of 5 every time. So that's also just emphasizing like, don't make a change until you're convinced like that's the actual issue.
Yeah, that's amen. Amen. Because once you start tweaking and changing a putt, it can get really hard to go back.
And I do have to say, very funny, this has nothing to do with disc golf, but kind of does, but I'm out there with my 2.5-year-old. He's repeating. He's like a little like parrot right now. And I was like, it was like maybe like in that like last couple putts, I was like, come on, man, make a change. And he goes, come on, man, change. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right, little one. You're right. So anyway, Scott H.
Yeah. Scott H. asks, I've been playing for a very, very long time, and I know the flight numbers are not always the end of all. And I've never seen a good answer for this question. Wow. Scott, have you arrived?
Wow. You're going to answer. It may not be the right one.
Yeah, it may not be a good one. But we're gonna try. We're gonna add our names to this pot, one way or the other. Why do different plastics fly differently within the same mold? And since we all know they do fly differently, why don't companies adjust their flight numbers for each plastic? I've been playing off and on for 30 years, and now that my kids are adults and out of the house, I've been focusing on playing more and getting better, but this concept is throwing me off a bit trying new discs.
Okay. First of all, some companies do. Innova definitely does, and MVP definitely changes their flight numbers amongst plastics sometimes. So some companies are starting to do that. That's a good thing, Scott. You'll be able to catch those on those two brands. My understanding, Robbie, is it has to do with kind of the physics behind the actual plastic and how it's interacting with the spin, and how the weight distribution is like ESP versus like electron versus glow. There's like a different way the weight's distributed based on the plastic, and I think the different amounts of air in it. Is that correct?
Couldn't tell you on the physics side, but I definitely, I think that you keep going. You keep going.
Yeah. Well, and really what that boils down to is stiffness, I think. I think stiffness has a lot to do with it. Now, like fission, for example, right? Fission does have bubbles in it, and it's lighter weight, but the gyro technology around it allows the same type of spin to happen with a different type of plastic. Although fission does tend to be a little flippier in my experience because of the different weight.
Yeah.
So I really think it has to come down. It comes down to really stiffness of the plastic and the disc. So that's the answer that I am going to stick with.
Yeah, and I think I've talked with Jesse about this. Jesse is probably one of the better people to answer this question.
Yeah,
we might have to. You might have to reach out to Old Trash Panda, because this is what they're experimenting with a lot, is adjusting the plastic and seeing what it's doing to the flight of things. But the company that honestly messes with my head the most on this is MVP. Because if you talk with MVP people, they will tell you that you have plasma plastic is one of their plastic types. It's clear, usually has some form of like speckle in it when they call it prism plasma, but it's clear. And plasma plastic across different molds usually either makes the mold the most overstable version or the most understable version. So that's where my confusion rests with you as well, Scott, because now it's not even like, there are some companies like Innova where you have Halo Star, and you know if it's in Halo Star, it's going to be overstable.
Right.
But then you have House of Discs, where most of their orbit stuff, this the same effect as Halo. It really doesn't fly too different. Like, it's very cosmetic. Okay, that's interesting. So I think that the plastic blends change for a lot of people, but MVP is the one that, like I said, confuses me the most because of plasma plastic. Like, it was a plasma Envy that I picked up, and I think it was like a plasma Envy was super flippy, and a plasma Proxy was crazy overstable. And I was like, what are we talking about, bro? They're both putters, and it's in the same plastic. I don't know. So I wish I had a better answer.
So while you were talking, Robbie, I asked ChatGPT.
Okay.
Just because I was very curious, because I'm like, surely there's a flexibility and stability. Softer plastics flex more in flight and can make discs less stable. Stiffer plastics resist flexing and often make discs more overstable. And also weight distribution also has an effect as well. And it also notes that grip and release are affected as well.
Okay.
So both the person using it. I also have a chart, and I have a visual graphic that it made me as well.
Wow.
So we are all being taken over. In the bag, AI.
Yep. Bad week, Brad. I don't know if you saw the Discraft pushback.
I know. Bad week for that.
Yeah.
Hey,
AI is not friendly right now to the DG community.
Right.
I guess it's not friendly if we're trying to replace people.
Yeah. Well, it's not. So I'm not like, I just watched Bob's apology, so I don't know like actually what happened, I guess. Sorry, yeah, in the bag hot takes here for a second. I think it just goes back to like what I said a couple of weeks ago. We just have to be careful what we're accusing people or companies of doing. because it is true they do employ a ton of artists. And if artists are choosing to use AI to meet deadlines or to meet product or requirements, then like that's really the issue. I really don't believe, and I could be wrong, I don't believe that they're Discraft's like, hey, Chat GPT, why don't you make me some stamp designs, please?
Yeah.
So I think we have to be careful with that. But let's not. I don't understand, as the quote unquote this community that we are, why the first chance we get to like burn someone at the stake, we do it. I don't understand that.
That is tough.
That's not a community. That's a mob.
Yeah. I think about, honestly, a use of AI that as a YouTuber, that really blew my mind was when Dude Perfect talked about how what they will do is when they are thinking about video ideas, they will plug the video ideas into AI, ChatGPT or whatever, and see how thumbnails would be generated for this idea. And if they're like, oh yeah, that actually is a sick idea based off how that thumbnail, and then they kind of base the video around that to recreate the thing.
Yeah, it should be. It's just a tool. Like if people use it as a tool, it's not. I mean, it's just another tool that we have. Like the internet is a tool. Like my MacBook's a tool. Photoshop's a tool. And then Photoshop has been used in harmful ways too. You just have to choose to use the tool correctly. Like the way we just used it, as we are joking about it, but it's a very helpful tool. All that happened was it gathered a ton of sources together to give me a clear, quick, concise answer. And as long as I don't claim the answer is mine, and as long as I don't like put it out there as like the god, because you still have to check it as well. I still like, I really should, like, my next step before I would claim is like making, checking sources. Where are they coming from? Are they coming from notable, what's the bibliography for those of you who know what that is? So,
throwing it back to research paper days, baby. Yeah. Chicago Turabian for life.
Yeah. What's up?
We're going to do one more question to close out the episode, and then we'll hit what's new in the warehouse. But I will say, I tried to use ChatGPT last night I'm prepping for this tournament over in Atlanta for a card game tournament. And I've got a card that I've really tried to work into the deck, and I just can't get it to work. And I was like, maybe I'm just trying to cut the wrong card. Let's see what ChatGPT can do. So I put in this whole prompt, and I was like, analyze Disney Lorcana tournaments from this date to this date, looking at the lists and the footage that comes from the commentary, and tell me, based on my list, what cards should I cut? And I threw it in, and Lorcana has like a color restriction, so you can only have 2 colors.
Yeah.
So I put in my current deck list, which was green and blue, and ChatGPT read it, and they were like, oh, you can't add this card into your deck because it doesn't meet the color restriction, because I was adding a green card, and it was trying to tell me that my deck list was blue and purple instead of blue and green. And I was like, ChatGPT, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
And I was like, my deck is green. And they were like, oh, well, that makes things way easier for the color restriction. With this new information, it's like, okay, well, that just discredited everything you're about to say. So
yeah,
it's not always fact. I agree with Brad. Yeah. Check your sources.
Yeah, and it's also a skill to be able to write the prompts in a way that you get the responses that you are looking for. So that's also a skill. I've watched several videos on that, actually.
Yeah. No, I will admit that I have been leaning into it. I do a lot of YouTube descriptions, getting help that way. And then also help on thumbnail or title ideas. Not thumbnails, but title ideas, trying to help, like, okay, they understand SEO better than I do, for sure. All right, final question coming from Braden. I recently played in my first tournament ever and took first in MA4. I shot better than the MA3 field as well, and now have a 915 rating.
Oh my.
What should my mental game be going into my next tournament to play in MA2? So I want to start by saying, Braden, people are going to headhunt you for this, and I want to tell you that you are not in the wrong. You
I
have
agree.
done nothing wrong. You were not rated. You played MA4. I will also caveat why I rarely tell people to play MA4 is because I think MA4 is the second hardest division to win in disc golf, only behind MPO. Because of this exact reason. Like, there are people who show up and they play MA4 and it's their first tournament ever and they ball out because they're novices, that they are in the division that they're supposed to be. So the range of people who can appear to play an MA4 is massive.
Yeah.
That's the caveat I'm starting with. So, like I said, people are going to try to headhunt you for this, Braden. You did nothing wrong. You are in the right. Congratulations. What a great first event. I want to start there.
Sure. Yeah.
Brad, what are your thoughts? Mental game going into the next tournament where he now has to jump all the way to MA2.
I want to say, what's the cap on MA3? Is it 900?
Yep.
Okay. I want to say you just need to go in and play the normal game you play, have a plan, and do not be disappointed if you're actually an MA3 player.
Yeah.
Because I think you're probably an MA3 player. Because an MA3 player can shoot a 915 rated round on a really good day. And maybe you had a really good day. Maybe you love competition. Maybe you're hyped about the tournament. Maybe the course just rated super well for you. And that layout. So I think that just go in and have a good time, and just you didn't, if you get last place on MA2 and you shot like a 850 or something, you probably shot where you are. If you go in to MA2 and you place kind of in the middle of the field and you actually are like a 900 plus rated golfer, that's great. You're way ahead of everybody else. I just think you should really go in with no expectations other than I might be where I'm supposed to be and I might not be. But like it's not anything that has to do with your self-worth or how good you are per se. It's just you really need another metric on who you like, what division you're supposed to be in. I think you just honestly, like Robbie said, you're going to get headhunted. I think you got to really kind of, that's almost like the worst possible rating. I don't know. This is a fringe reference, so everyone beware. But have you ever seen the movie Spanglish, Robbie?
I have. I love Adam Sandler and have not seen Spanglish.
Okay. Please watch it. It's one of my favorite and my wife's favorites. And he is a restaurant owner, and I forget what Michelin star rating he gets. But he like is really, he gets like the best rating you can get, and like the article that comes out is like he's Adam Klasky is the best chef in the United States or whatever, and he like starts crying and like having a breakdown, and his daughter's like, what is wrong? He goes, no, you don't want 3 stars, you want like 1 star. 1 star says I'm good and you have a wait list, but you can still get in, there's still room at the bar for people to eat, but a 3 star means we're gonna have reservations for years at a time. Like, so I think you kind of have one of that's a very fringe reference to say, I think you might have had one of those moments where you're like, oh man, I really wish I would have rated this high, because I don't think you really know, you haven't had a chance to figure out where you are yet.
Yeah.
And this is why ratings are so like touchy for this exact scenario, because you might be a 915 rated player, or you might have had a really good 915 rated round. I could shoot a 915 rated round somewhere on a really good day, but I'm like an 850 golfer.
Yeah.
So
it takes me back to college, where in college we had one professor, Dr. Putt, who he had
Dr. Putt.
Putt.
All right, this sounds made up, but go ahead.
Dr. Putt.
I went to disc golf college.
I went to disc golf college. I honestly have not connected that dot until it just came out of my mouth. Of like, oh, wow, how fortuitous.
That's why it sounds fake.
He was my philosophy professor.
Who's your math professor? Dr. Drive?
Yeah, no, Dr. Hyzer.
Heisenberger. All right, I'll stop. Go ahead.
There were 3 grades that mattered in his class. And when I say 3 grades, there were only 3 grades on the whole thing. And it was a midterm, a final, and then there was an attendance grade. And the attendance grade was you got a 0 or 100. That was it.
Whew.
Because it was, if you missed more than a certain amount of classes, you got a 0. So you just
I can
knew
respect
that factored in to the 3 data points for the whole class. So it put massive stress on the midterm and the final. So like, I remember one of his classes, I got like a 82 on a midterm, and I was like, oh no, I am going to have to ball out on this final. And the midterm and the final were 8 questions each. It was a philosophy class. So like each of these questions matters so much. Wild. Anyways, so your rating right now, Braden, we don't know your last name. I wish I could have looked it up, because if I knew, I could have looked it up. But you have, let's say you played a 2-round C tier and this is your first event. You have 2 rounds that count towards your rating right now. So those 2 rounds are holding a whole lot of weight.
Yeah.
Your next rounds are going to sway this. It could sway it in a really positive direction. Like that could have been a middle thirds day for you, and you could go upper thirds and climb even more.
Yeah, right.
I know from personal experience, I went back and looked, July 14th, 2020 is when I got my first ever rating. 928. 4 rounds. I played an A tier and a flex start, and those 4 rounds were my 928. And I was like, oh no. While I was there, Caden Spurge's dad, Larry, was the course TD at one of the courses, and he was at my division. And he's like, Robbie, if you had fun here, man, you got to come check out my A tier in Huntsville next month. And I was like, dude, yeah. But I had to play. I could have played MA2, and I decided, why not just jump to MA1? Let's do it. So I jumped all the way to MA1. Literally took a lesson with someone because I was so nervous about making the jump. And he was like, yeah, like you just got to know that an MA1, like basically everybody makes their 35 footers. Everyone throws 400 plus feet, and bam, 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 and like intimidated me to death. I played so scared that tournament. Got 3 more rounds added on. I jumped from 928 down to 903. Lost 25 points off of my rating immediately. I was so shook by that in October, I had gone from 7 rated rounds to 13 rated rounds and jumped from 903 down to 901. So the more data points that get in there, you have someone like friend of the podcast, Wes, who we love, but Wes has like probably like 100 rated rounds on his rating.
He has a lot.
So it's very difficult to move the needle one way or the other for him, whereas for the lower number of rounds, those are all going to carry a lot of weight. So I cannot emphasize enough what Brad said. Ball out like you don't care what division you're in. It's why I tell every student who has ever worked with me on the mental side knows my phrase. When people try to tell me, oh, I want to shoot blank, blank golf. Okay, I don't care. Go shoot golf you're proud of. If you go and shoot golf you're proud of, you are going to shoot great rated rounds.
Yeah.
Like, if Jason goes out and plays golf that he's proud of, right now it's in the 900s, guaranteed. If Jason goes out and shoots golf that he's like, I did fine, it's like 870 rated. And Jason knows if he goes out and plays bad golf, it's 850 rated. But if he goes and plays golf he's proud of, it's going to be above his rating. Yeah, guaranteed. And that should be your goal, Braden. Go shoot golf you're proud of.
Don't try to pad your rating. Don't like worry about your rating playing this next tournament, because you're going to be like, oh, well, I better just lay up, because if this happens, I'm going to go down. Like, you're in a dangerous place where you can really excel from where you're at or really fail hard. So, like, I think positive mindset and just not worrying about it right now until you get like some more rounds under your belt is probably the healthiest thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, your rating is in a volatile place no matter whether you shoot well or bad. Like, well, yeah, good or bad. So shoot golf you're proud of. Don't give a rip about the division. It's not you. At the end of the day, yes, it is you versus the people around you, but the you versus the people around you is solely in who beat the crud out of the course better that day.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only measurement, is we're both tackling the same thing. Did I whoop up on this course better than my opponents? Because if I did, I'm pretty proud of that, and I probably won.
Right.
So don't be intimidated and if you're playing MA2, the thing about MA2 is that most MA2 players love you to death. If you guys are listening to this podcast, MA2 is the most toxic division in all of disc golf. I will die on that hill. I think MA4 is the second hardest division to win, but MA2 is so toxic because most MA2 players know enough to be competitive. They haven't found the consistency to jump to MA1 or MPO. So they still have a lot of flashes in the pan, but they don't want to be called rec players. There's this like chip on their shoulder of I'm better than rec players, but they're only slightly more consistent. And so it's just, it can become a very toxic place very fast.
Yes.
I avoided that division like the plague because, and I maybe, you know, fingers crossed, last thing I'll say before all these MA2 players are not like, Robbie's the worst. Maybe that's just my local. Maybe you guys have a really healthy MA2 scene. I've also traveled for a lot of events, and I think that it's true elsewhere, but that's fine. I hope that you have the healthy one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a very, very safe statement.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
it's just hard, dude. It's hard. And I get it. Like, we all want to be better. That's the thing. I personally would just jump to MA1. Like, I would rather jump to MA1 and just, I would rather be bottom of the barrel MA1 than know that every card I'm on for MA2, there's some person with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know what they say? If you're like, oh, no one in our card has a chip on their shoulder,
Everybody does?
you might be the one with the chip on your shoulder.
Whoops.
It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, we've all got that friend in our friend group. And you're like, oh, we don't have that friend in our friend group.
You're like, oh, it's me.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Brad, now that I have tarnished my reputation with all the MA2 players in the world, I'm going to stop talking. What's new in the warehouse?
Well, the warehouse, we have discs here. Some of those discs are okay. I'll get to it. So Trevor Cash is releasing right now. When you're listening to this, if you're one of those people that's been waiting for one, I suggest you get your booty over there and grab one before they're sold out. These ones are okay. Full disclosure, they were supposed to be color glow. They're glow metal flake, and they're pretty sick.
Okay.
Yeah. So surprise to everybody. Love Dave. Dave was just being creative, and he created something awesome. So here we go. Yeah, and they're like metal flake with like different colors in them. So they're like, Hunter said we could have called them like color shift, color glow almost, but they're like shades of like pink, blue, pink, purple, like that sort of shades. They're not just like glow plastic with metal flake in them, but they have like a blush color. I'll call it blush. With metal flake in their glow, and they glow really well. They're very cool. So those are dropping. Those are the last caches of the year that will drop of that variety. Take with that what you will. Discmania had some cool releases this week. They had the Creator Series like S Swirl Glacier, S Swirl Vanguard, and S Swirl Drop. So the drop is sick in that plastic, by the way. It feels incredible.
Come on.
Dynamic drop. I had to get them because they were just so cool. We were low on judges, EMAC judges, and wardens anyway. But they dropped these ones. They call them monsters. They're like a little tiny like corner logo, but it's a Discmania logo, but it's like the head of these little monsters. They're really fun. So those drop. They feel really good. They're swirly as well, like Prime Swirl and stuff. So those are very cool. Innova Fox, which actually, Robbie, this one's yours that I'm sending you.
Oh, come on.
Right here. Very cool. I mean, it feels like an Origin in my hand. It's a 5.6 -2.1. Maybe like a little bit more like driver feeling. Because to me, I like the Origin because it kind of feels like a putter. Fox definitely feels like a mid-range / getting into like a 6-speed almost. But Hunter said it was definitely more understable than he thought. So
Interesting.
So I haven't thrown it yet. It'll be interesting to see. Let's see. MVP pre-orders. Some of those are sold out, but they're still in here. We'll be getting them in a few weeks. Shout out to MVP. They are doing something unique with this drop. I don't know if I can actually say what it is right now, but very different compared to any other manufacturer, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Trash Panda restock is going to go up on Monday, but I wanted to point that out to everybody. But the Procyon is also releasing on Monday. So just mark your calendars for that. But we have Canyons, we have ET2s, we have Dunes, Inner Cores. We have the whole Trash Panda lineup back in stock with the Procyon. Do you say Procyon or Procyon? What do you say, Robbie?
Procyon.
Procyon, okay. Like the star, right?
Yeah. That's what it's named after.
Yeah, I thought so. So yeah, that's going on Monday, so I wanted to point that out as well. And I just wanted to highlight the text deal we had this week. If you're not signed up for our text deals, let me actually get you
the number.
That number, which I have right here. You just text JOIN to 1-833-255-8270. Text JOIN to 1-833-255-8270. This week was a Ripped Revenge bundle, so it was like I think basically $50 value for $30. So we do all kinds of cool stuff. We'll release discs there first before we drop them on the site a lot of the time. Like the Sky Bros, we've only released through text deal. We've never released that on the site. Ripped, and we'll do like crazy Brody deals. You'll get like premium tour series like Brody stuff for like $9. I mean, there's crazy stuff that comes through there. So make sure you sign up for that as well.
Shout out to Jason. He outed himself on Bards for this, and he was like, "Yeah, people got a deal last week, and they didn't realize they were getting a deal because he sent out the wrong price for the text deal, and people were like, oh, hey." So sometimes you even get surprises, even within the surprise, guys.
Yeah, sometimes I'm surprised on the deal. But make sure, and the last shout I'll give is subscription box. We're in a new month. All I gotta say, here's a couple hints for you.
Oh,
Number
baby.
one,
Here we go.
Number one, hold on. Let me just do this.
Oh boy.
For those of you who are
ready for some YouTube watchers?
Yeah, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, this is all I gotta say.
Yeah.
There's your hint. If you're not a YouTube watcher, stop right now. Jump over to YouTube. Give us a subscribe while you're over there.
Yeah.
Follow. Give us a subscribe.
Timestamp 102.
Timestamp 102, and there it is. That's your hint for this month.
It's sick. It's so sick.
Not only this is not, if you subscribe to the 3-disc box, this is going to be a 4-disc box month. If you're a 2-discer, you're actually going to get 3 this month.
Wow.
So can you say value? Boom.
Value.
Buy. So as always, guys, we appreciate you very much. Thanks for listening. I look down every time at these tabs in the Excel sheet, and I'm like, we're on episode 162. That's
162,
crazy. Man. 162 times, and a few more, and a few less. I mean, a few double episodes, triple episodes. You never know.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you all, and when you're buying your discs from FoundationDisc.com, when you get them in, if they're good,
keep them in the bag. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.